Hi, I'm Tom Shoebridge. Welcome back to So You Want to Be a Screenwriter. Let's look at a few clips and think about the thing that really makes screen stories important, and that is the story itself.
Good morning.
Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starling. May I speak with you?
You're one of Jack Crawford's, aren't you?
I am, yes.
May I see your credentials?
Certainly.
Closer, please. Closer. That expires in 1 week. You're not real FBI, are you?
The cliche in the screenwriting business is that story is everything. And that's absolutely true, and you can't ever lose focus of that. Producers do, however, distributors do, all the other people who contribute. They're looking at deals, they're looking at money, they're looking at distribution, they're looking at eyeballs. You have to concentrate on story. Story, as I think, is kind of known that we've always had stories as human beings. It's played a major role in every culture in the world. Leaders, shaman, medicine people, they all told stories to keep their culture alive, to keep knowledge alive, to keep insight alive. And so they became very, very important. And it's interesting, I'm recording this in the middle of the pandemic, and guess what most people have turned to in this time of crisis? That is stories. Stories on the little screen, stories on the middle-sized screen. Sorry, we can't have them on the great big screens at the moment. But it's very, very important in our life, and so you have to see yourself as being a major part of what happens in society generally. I was privileged a few years ago to go and teach in South Africa to an all-black class. And while I was there, I learned a lot about their culture and how they see themselves. And that's what we were trying to teach them, is to believe in their culture and to believe in themselves as individual storytellers. My wife and I went off to visit a series of caves that are considered to be the foundation, the cradle of civilization. And we went in where people had lived, humanoids, I think, for tens of thousands of years. And they turned off the lights, and it was black beyond belief. You cannot understand how dramatic that was. And when I got to reflecting later, I realized that it was there too that they learned managed fire, which meant that they had warmth, meant that they could keep away animals, and that they could sit around and do things in common. I think that's where stories were born. And that was very inspirational, because I realized then that from the beginning, we've had to tell one another what happened, why it happened, and why it's important. So as a writer, you have to be a writer first before you can be a screenwriter. So you have to be fascinated by stories, and you have to take stories from wherever they come. You can and must read novels, see films, watch television, watch opera, plays. All of them are driven by stories. But so too is the news. So too are newspapers. And everything that comes on your screen will have some kind of human story dimension to it. So you have to be the sponge that's going to gather up all those stories and then figure out your kind of story. Don't think about it being $1 million story to start with, but eventually that will have to be a consideration, because some stories are short stories and should be in print. Some stories should be on the stage. Some stories are operas. Some stories are songs. And the ones that fit a particular mode are screen stories. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next section. The storyteller, though, must be very aware of his or her audience. You have to think about how people are going to react to this. Because one of the things we learn is that human beings are experts in reading other people. And so we are very interested mainly, and I think exclusively, in human aspects. Even in nature, we kind of make them into a human form so that we can better understand and articulate them. But you, if you're going to be a serious screenwriter, have to understand that people have passions, goals, morals, thoughts, and that they are a product of the society that they're in. So you have to think about where your story takes place, in what era does that take place, and most importantly, who are the characters in the story. And we're going to spend a whole section on that. So storytellers have to be kind of Renaissance people. They have to have a passion for stories and for people, and to be very sensitive to all of those things that make us human. And then you can construct that into a story called a screen story. And they're very unique. And so in the next talk, we're going to take a lot of time just to look at what differentiates a screen story from a regular story. See you then.